Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Saira Mujtaba and with me is Renu Kataria, bringing glimpses of major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to attend spring meetings of International Monetary Fund and World Bank in USA. Also to participate in G20 Finance Ministers and Central Bank Governors meetings. Indian Parliamentary delegation led by Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla to be on a 3-day visit of Vietnam from Tuesday. World Bank report says extreme poverty in India declined by 12.3 percentage points during 2011-2019. Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa appoints a new cabinet, 17 members including several former cabinet ministers sworn in. Lieutenant General Manoj Pandey appointed as next Chief of Indian Army. India designates Jaish-e-Mohammed commander Ashir Ahmed Nehru as a terrorist. And in IPL cricket, Rajasthan Royals set a victory target of 218 runs before Kolkata Knight Riders in Mumbai. And now the news in detail. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is on an official visit to USA to attend spring meetings of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. She will also participate in G20 Finance Ministers and Central Bank Governors meetings. The minister left for USA Sunday night. Ms. Sitharaman will take part in bilateral meetings with several countries, including Indonesia, South Korea, Sri Lanka and South Africa. She will also hold one-on-one meetings with CEOs from the semiconductor, energy and other sectors of priority for the Government of India. Apart from the official meetings with the World Bank, IMF, G20 and Financial Action Task Force, the Finance Minister will also attend an event at the Atlantic Council, a prominent think tank based in Washington, D.C., and will also interact with the faculty and students at Stanford University. During the visit, Ms. Sitharaman will participate in a high-level panel discussion on money at a crossroad hosted by the Managing Director, International Monetary Fund.
A parliamentary delegation of India led by Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla will be on a 3-day visit of Vietnam from Tuesday. During the visit, Mr. Birla will call on Vietnam President Nguyen Xuan Phuc and National Assembly Chairman Vuong Dinh Hue. Later, the parliamentary delegation will leave for Cambodia on 22nd of this month on a 4-day visit. In today's Hotspots section, we bring you a commentary on India-Vietnam relations vital for India's Act East policy. India's relationship with Vietnam is growing by leaps and bounds. The catalyst was Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Vietnam in 2016, which established the India-Vietnam Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. Recently, Mr. Modi spoke to the General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam, Nguyen Phu Trong, over the telephone. The two leaders congratulated each other on the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations. The topics of discussions were the South China Sea issue, the Ukraine crisis, and bilateral and regional issues. The Indian Prime Minister reiterated that Vietnam is an important pillar of India's Act East policy and the Indo-Pacific vision in his phone call. India's Act East policy hinges on the active cooperation from ASEAN countries and positive affirmation of its presence in the region. India's expanding defense and security ties with Vietnam are crucial for India's Act East policy, which has been met with enthusiasm from Vietnam and the ASEAN countries. The expanding ties could be seen in the bilateral maritime exercise between the two countries in the South China Sea. Also, the Indian contribution to Vietnam's coastal defense through the delivery of high-speed guard boats to Vietnam. India-Vietnam relationship is not just about bilateral ties, but also encapsulates India's broader approach to the Indo-Pacific. Ever since India formally launched the Indo-Pacific Initiative, IPOI, at the East Asia Summit in 2019, it has been seeking to enhance cooperation among the countries of ASEAN on regional stability and peace. Interestingly, ASEAN's outlook on the Indo-Pacific, which has been promoted by Southeast Asia, finds convergence with India's vision for an inclusive Indo-Pacific. Among ASEAN countries, Vietnam seeks an Indo-Pacific that is free and open and is subject to intense great power competition between China and the United States, while seeking to manage her maritime dispute with China to protect its sovereignty and territorial integrity. Therefore, India and Vietnam both are compelled by the shifting sands of the balance of power politics in the Indo-Pacific and growing tensions in the South China Sea, becoming turbulent due to the intense competition between US and China to cooperate with each other, to view each other as a stabilizing force in the region. The maritime domain in the Indo-Pacific becomes crucial for both countries to maintain a free and stable area of cooperation in order to continue their modernization and withstand pressures of capitulation from major powers, some of which can use aggression to compel both countries to support their initiatives. Both India and Vietnam, therefore, have to pursue independent foreign policy strategies, and the derivative of such would be to cooperate on common goals such as a free and open Indo-Pacific while guarding their autonomy. For instance, both countries set forth the joint vision for peace, prosperity, and people for guiding the bilateral relationship. This vision document prescribes wide-ranging cooperation in the Indo-Pacific and seeks stability in the South China Sea. Both countries are cooperating to induce the environment of seeking peaceful resolution of disputes in the South China Sea and expand their cooperation to build a blue economy to foster prosperity in the Indo-Pacific. This includes a broad spectrum of cooperation from nuclear and space technologies to digital economy between the two countries. As such, during the phone call between Prime Minister Modi and General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trong, India emphasized the expeditious progress on existing initiatives and access to markets to Indian agriculture and pharmaceutical products. India also highlighted the civilizational links between the two countries, especially the assistance provided by the Archaeological Survey of India, or ASI, in the conservation of Cham temples in Vietnam. The significance of India's Act East policy with Vietnam is that both countries are not seeking to expand their cooperation in an effort to counter any third country, but realize that regional security is becoming complicated amid post-COVID-19 economic realities and great power competition. Both countries are interested in peaceful resolution of disputes but wary of aggression in their neighborhood and growing maritime dominance in the region. In this complicated neighborhood, growing bilateral relationship, in the words of External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar, India-Vietnam partnership will be a significant stabilizing factor in the Indo-Pacific.
In some more news, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the first ever Semicon India 2022 conference on the 29th of this month in Bengaluru. Informing this at a press conference, Minister of State for Electronics and Information Technology and Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, said this is being organized to take forward the vision of the Prime Minister to make India a leader in the electronics manufacturing, semiconductor design, manufacturing and innovation. Mr. Chandrasekhar said Semicon India 2022, a 3-day conference, is to make India a significant player in global semiconductor value chain. He said, first time in the last 75 years, rapid decisive strides have been made in this space. Semicon India 2022 conference will attract best minds from across the world from the semiconductor industry, research and academia, and will act as a big step in fulfilling the Prime Minister's vision on making India a global hub for electronics manufacturing and semiconductor industry. Extreme poverty in India was 12.3 percentage points lower in 2019 as compared to 2011. The poverty headcount rate has declined from 22.5% in 2011 to 10.2% in 2019. According to Policy Research Working Paper of the World Bank, poverty reduction was higher in rural areas as compared to urban India. Rural poverty dropped by 14.7%, while urban poverty declined by 7.9% points during 2011 to 2019. According to the study, farmers with small land holding sizes have experienced higher income growth. Real incomes for farmers with the smallest land holdings have grown by 10% in annualized terms between the two survey rounds in 2013 and 2019 compared to a 2% growth for farmers with the largest land holding.
India's sugar export has witnessed an astounding growth of 291% from $1,177 million in financial year 2013-14 to $4,600 million in the last financial year. It has exceeded 10 million tons for the first time. Ministry of Commerce and Industry said sugar export jumped 65% in the last financial year corresponding to its previous year, despite logistical challenges posed by COVID-19 pandemic. Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa appointed a new cabinet on Monday. The authorities said that a total of 17 members, including many former cabinet ministers, were sworn in. According to media reports, several former key cabinet ministers were not included in the new cabinet of ministers who were sworn on Monday. Also, none of the members of the Rajapaksa family, including Chamal Rajapaksa and Namal Rajapaksa, were appointed in the new cabinet. However, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa remains in power. Following the mass resignation of the cabinet ministers, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa on April 4 named 4 ministers until a full cabinet is appointed.
The Sri Lankan government has sent a delegation to the International Monetary Fund or IMF for discussions over ways to get the lenders loans. The delegation, led by Finance Minister Ali Sabri, also includes Governor of the Central Bank Nandalal Veerasinghe, was sent on Sunday. Sabri told media they expect to receive around $4 billion from the IMF in 5 tranches if the discussions are successful, according to reports. Sri Lanka has been undergoing a serious economic crisis and foreign reserves stand below $2 billion. Meanwhile, doctors across Sri Lanka say hospitals are running out of medicines and essential supplies as the country's economic crisis worsens. In Sri Lanka, hundreds of protesters lit candles and displayed banners and placards in Colombo on Sunday, demanding justice for victims of the Easter terror attacks in which 270 people were killed 3 years ago. In 2019, local Islamist extremist group National Tawheed Jamaat linked to the ISIS carried out coordinated blasts that tore through 3 churches and as many luxury hotels in Sri Lanka on Easter Sunday, killing at least 270 people and injuring over 500.
Lieutenant General Manoj Pandey has been appointed as the next Chief of Indian Army. The 29th Army Chief will be the first officer from the Corps of Engineers to become the Chief of Army Staff, succeeding General Manoj Mukund Narvane, who is scheduled to complete his 28-month tenure on 30th of April. The Government of India has designated Jaish-e-Mohammed commander Ashiq Ahmed Nangru as a terrorist. In a notification, the Union Home Ministry said Nangru has been involved in the infiltration of terrorists into Jammu and Kashmir and has also been responsible for perpetrating various terror incidents in the Union territory. The ministry said Nangru is running a terror syndicate in Kashmir and is now engaged in a perilous campaign to orchestrate terror in Jammu and Kashmir remote controlled from Pakistan. In the Indian Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, a Railway Protection Force RPF personnel was killed while another was injured after terrorists fired upon them in Kakapora area of South Kashmir's Pulwama district Monday evening. According to police sources, both the injured personnel were immediately evacuated to hospital. However, one of them succumbed to his grievous injuries. The area was cordoned off by the security forces and a massive manhunt has been launched to nab the assailants involved in the terror attack. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
Welcome back to the news. Russia said on Monday it had hit hundreds of military targets in Ukraine overnight, destroying command posts with air-launched missiles. In a statement, the Russian Defense Ministry said it had destroyed 16 Ukrainian military facilities in the Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, Donetsk and Dnipropetrovsk regions and in the port of Mykolaiv. Ukrainian authorities said missiles struck military facilities and a car tire service point in Lviv, which is just 60 kilometers. Lviv Mayor Andrei Sadovyi said 7 people were killed and 11 were injured. India and Finland have announced the decision to establish an Indo-Finnish Virtual Network Center on Quantum Computing. Science and Technology Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh and visiting Finland Minister of Economic Affairs Mika Lintilä, who is currently in India, announced this. An MOU to this effect was signed on Monday. We have a report.
Dr. Jitendra Singh said bilateral collaboration between India and Finland is an attempt to stimulate innovative research and development projects that address a specific need or challenge, demonstrate high industrial relevance and commercial potential, and aim to deliver benefit to both the nations. Dr. Jitendra Singh said that the Indian side has identified 3 premier institutes, IIT Madras, IISER Pune and CDAC Pune for Virtual Network Center on Quantum Computing. He said the move comes in the wake of the decision taken in the last joint committee meeting held in November 2020 to initiate cooperation in new emerging areas like 5G, quantum computing and sustainability by involving academia, industries and startups of the 2 countries. Referring to the virtual summit last March between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister of Finland, Ms. Sanna Marin, Dr. Jitendra Singh pointed out that Finland's leading role in clean and green technologies can help India's drive towards sustainable development. He also shared that both India and Finland are consultative members of the Antarctic Treaty and have active stations in Antarctica. Finland would be hosting Antarctic Treaty Consultative Meeting in 2023 and India in 2024. The visiting Finnish Minister Lintilä assured that Finnish companies will partner with India for carbon neutral technologies and enhance cooperation for sustainability in climate change. The Finnish minister also invited India to explore the possibility of deeper cooperation in Finland's biobank project to mediate high-quality human samples to medical research to promote development of new products and services that promote public health. Anuja Kumar for World News.
Indian Army Commanders Conference, an apex-level biannual event, began in New Delhi on Monday and will continue till the 22nd of this month. The conference is an institutional platform for conceptual-level deliberations, culminating in making important policy decisions for the Indian Army. During the 5-day conference, the senior leadership of the Indian Army will review the operational situation along the active borders, assess threats in the entire spectrum of conflict and undertake analysis of capability voids to further focus on capability development and operational preparedness plans. Discussions on aspects relating to infrastructure development in border areas, modernization through indigenization, induction of niche tech and assessment of any impact of the Russia-Ukraine war are also scheduled. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh is expected to interact with the senior commanders and address the conference on 21st of April. China has signaled to resume some economic activities in its commercial and financial capital, Shanghai, which has been in citywide lockdown for the past 3 weeks in varying degrees. Chinese authorities also officially acknowledged the first COVID-linked deaths in the city since March and reported the deaths of 3 people from COVID in Shanghai for the first time since the financial hub entered lockdown in late March. The decision to ease the lockdown comes despite the continued spread of the highly transmissible Omicron variant of COVID-19.
In US, 2 juveniles were killed and at least 8 people were wounded when gunshots were fired on Sunday inside a Pittsburgh Airbnb rental house. According to the police, the shooting occurred during a large party being held with around 200 people. Police further said that a total of 10 people were shot, including 2 slain juveniles. Bangladesh has strongly denied the Human Rights Report 2021 published by the US Department of State, which raised several questions about issues like forced disappearances and extrajudicial killings, electoral process, freedom of expression in the country, among many others. The Bangladesh government in a press release said that the report contained factual errors and did not reflect the reality of human rights in Bangladesh.
Pakistan is cutting electricity to households and industry as the cash-strapped country can no longer afford to buy coal or natural gas from overseas to fuel its power plants. The country is struggling to procure fuel from the spot market after prices of liquefied natural gas and coal surged to records last month as the war in Ukraine exacerbated supply shortfalls. Pakistan's energy costs more than doubled to $15 billion in 9 months ended February from a year earlier, and it isn't able to spend more on additional shipments. About 3,500 megawatts worth of power capacity had been shut due to the fuel shortages as of 13th of April, according to a Twitter post by Mifta Ismail, who has been selected as finance minister by new Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. A similar amount is offline due to technical faults, he said. The more than 7,000 megawatts represents almost a fifth of total generation capacity, according to Tahir Abbas, the head of research at Arif Habib Limited in Karachi.
U.S. Special Envoy for North Korea has said that Washington and Seoul agreed on the need for a strong response to Pyongyang's recent spate of missile tests, though they remain open to dialogue. Sang Kim and his deputy, Jang Park, met South Korean officials, including nuclear envoy No Kyu-duk, after arriving in Seoul on Monday for a 5-day visit. After the meeting, the U.S. envoy Kim said they also agreed on the need to maintain the strongest possible joint deterrent capability on the peninsula. South Korean nuclear envoy No Kyu-duk said he and Kim shared concerns that North Korea will likely continue to engage in acts that raise regional tensions. He urged North Korea to return to talks. Song Kim flew to South Korea for talks after North Korea on Saturday conducted a new type of missile test in its 13th round of weapons firing this year. His arrival also coincided with the start of a 9-day annual joint military drill by US and South Korean troops. North Korea has condemned the joint drills as rehearsals for war. President Ram Nath Kovind has said that India has had a widespread tradition of Vad Vivad and Samvad, and today there is a need to reconnect with that heritage. Speaking on the occasion of the Diamond Jubilee celebrations of India International Centre IIC in New Delhi on Monday, the President said India's ancient philosophy called Darshan is often acknowledged to be far more subtle and robust than the best of philosophical works produced elsewhere. He noted that the people, especially the youth, are keen to learn more, not only in terms of facts, but also in terms of tools of critical thinking necessary to arrive at the truth. The President said that when the idea of the IIC was conceived in 1958 as an international platform for exchange of views, the world was coping with issues concerning a fair and stable international order and legacy burdens of 2 world wars. Mr. Kovind said as the contemporary world is going through a phase of transition, forums like the IIC become all the more relevant. The President said that the founding of this institution was done by women and men with a vision of India's future and its role in a world of international cooperation. He said the IIC stands for a vision of India as a vibrant democracy where it is possible to initiate dialogue in an atmosphere of amity and understanding with national and international participation.
World Heritage Day is being observed on 18th of April. The day aims at spreading awareness of the importance of protecting and preserving various sites around the world that have achieved World Heritage status. This year, the theme is Heritage and Climate. In IPL cricket, Rajasthan Royals have set a huge victory target of 218 runs for victory before Kolkata Knight Riders at Brabant Stadium in Mumbai. Chasing the target, Kolkata were 148 for 3 in 13.2 overs when reports last came in. Put into bat first, riding on Jos Butler's knock of 103 runs off 61 balls, Rajasthan posted 217 for 5 wickets. For Kolkata, Sunil Narayan picked up 2 wickets. Earlier, Kolkata won the toss and elected to field.
And now some news from the world of business. The Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange today plunged around 2%. Domestic stock indices declined for the 4th session in a row amid weak cues from other Asian global share markets. The BSE Sensex closed below 57,200 points, while the Nifty at the National Stock Exchange ended below 17,200 level. We have a report from the business desk.
The Sensex lost 1,172 points or 2.01% to finish at 57,167. The Nifty also tumbled 302 points or 1.73% to settle at 17,174. In the global share markets, Asian markets logged losses. Japan's Nikkei tumbled 1.1% and Singapore's Straits Times ended 1% down. China Shanghai Composite Index fell 0.5% and South Korea's Kospi slipped 0.1%. Trade did not take place in Hong Kong's Hang Seng and European share markets. Oil prices remained almost steady. Worries over slowing demand in China created a concern over fall in demand in the intraday trade. Brent crude was trading around $112.10 per barrel. Back home, gold prices rose 570 rupees at the multi-commodity exchange for June contracts. The precious metal was trading at 53,560 rupees per 10 grams. Silver prices also gained 1,365 rupees to 70,395 rupees per kilogram for May contracts when reports last came in. And in the forex market, the rupee weakened 9 paise against the US dollar. Domestic currency closed at 76 rupees and 27 paise per dollar. Nishit Kumar for World News, All India Radio.
And now let's take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. Let us take a look at the press reports from China. The print reports that China's cover-up of COVID and PLA deaths isn't working. Neither are the social media bans. The Hindu reports China continues to expand its unmanned aerial vehicles network and usage in areas close to the line of actual control. South China Morning Post writes European concerns over Serbia's ties to China resurface after reports of missile delivery. The Tibet Journal News reported that Chinese authorities' restrictions and monitoring of Tibet's former political prisoners are nothing new.
Now let's take a look at the press reports on Balochistan. The Dawn writes that Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif met with Balochistan National Party Mengal President Akhtar Mengal and Balochistan Awami Party Parliamentary Leader Khalid Maksi. The Daily Times notes that Senior Vice President of PMLN Balochistan Nawab Salman Khan Khilji on Saturday condemned the attack on Deputy Speaker Dost Muhammad Mazari and violence in the Punjab Assembly by PTI and PMLQ workers.
Now let's take a look at the press reports on Pakistan. The Daily Pakistan writes that Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi offered his condolences on the sad demise of Bilqis Adhi, the wife of known Pakistani philanthropist Abdul Sattar Adhi. The Pakistan Today reports that Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif on Sunday told his Indian counterpart Mr. Narendra Modi that peaceful and cooperative ties between the two neighbours are indispensable for the prosperity of the people. Pakistan Today reports that Pakistan Foreign Office spokesperson in a statement said that Islamabad has granted an extension to India for the transportation of wheat and life-saving medicines to Afghanistan via Pakistan. The news writes, newly elected National Assembly Speaker Raja Parvez Ashraf on Saturday announced de-sealing resignations of 123 members of the National Assembly from the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Party or PTI, which were accepted by former acting Speaker Qasim Suri on Friday.
Now let's have a look at the press reports on Nepal. The Himalayan reports that Nepal is asking its citizens living abroad to deposit funds in domestic banks as part of efforts to ensure the financial system has enough liquidity and to preserve foreign exchange reserves. The Himalayan reports that leaders of major political parties in Nepal have pledged to prioritize issues and concerns related to children and child rights in their manifesto for the local level elections. Republica reports that the Immigration Office of Tribhuvan International Airport has requested the tourists to carry cash as the electronic transaction is cumbersome.
Now let's take a look at the press reports on Bangladesh. Bangladesh State Minister for Foreign Affairs Shehryar Alam has said that Bangladesh has full authority over the country's internal affairs and it does not appreciate foreign interference in its internal matters, reports Pratham Alo. Bangladesh government has set an ambitious 7.5% growth target for the next fiscal year 2022-23, reports Dhaka Tribune.
India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval has said that cybersecurity is the foundation of any successful digital transformation and any threats in cyberspace directly impacts countries' social and economic security. Mr. Doval inaugurated the National Cybersecurity Incident Response Exercise in New Delhi on Monday. Highlighting the country's digital revolution and efforts made by the government for launching several digital services, he stressed on safeguarding the national cyberspace. National Cybersecurity Incident Response Exercise will be conducted as a hybrid exercise over a period of 10 days.
And now a quick look at the headlines once again. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to attend spring meetings of International Monetary Fund and World Bank in USA, also to participate in G20 Finance Ministers and Central Bank Governors meetings. Indian Parliamentary delegation led by Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla to be on a 3-day visit to Vietnam from Tuesday. World Bank report says extreme poverty in India declines by 12.3 percentage points during 2011-2019. Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa appoints a new cabinet, 17 members including several former cabinet ministers sworn in. Lieutenant General Manoj Pandey appointed as next Chief of Indian Army. India designates Jaish-e-Mohammed commander Ashiq Ahmed Nengaru as a terrorist. And in IPL cricket, Rajasthan Royals set a victory target of 218 runs before Kolkata Knight Riders in Mumbai. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Zimbabwe. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.